Good morning to all of you. Is this the last day of your program? No. Wow. I am told you guys are going to visit some place. Today you are traveling. Yeah. Is that? Yeah. And you know where you are going? Then, after that?
We're going to Agra.
After that?
Delhi.
After that?
Do you know Steel Factory?
Oh, that's where I come from. Okay. So I came to know that you are coming to my home state, right? You are going to see Jindal steel plant. Okay, that's where I come from. I come from Orissa. You know where is Orissa? Did you see the map? Where is it? Which side? Do you know where you are? Where? North part. And you are traveling to east part, eastern part of India. And then you know eastern part of India, then you go south of India, then you go top north of India, then you go to west of India. Are you going to Mumbai?
No.
You're not going to Mumbai? No. Mumbai is the business capital of India. How many are here from China? Are there some people who come from China?
I'm Chinese.
But she's Australian.
Yeah, I know. I have a professor who is from Sri Lanka, who is in my school, but he's from Australia. Laknath Jaishankar. So if you ask him about Sri Lanka, he doesn't know anything because he has seen more India than Sri Lanka. But just 10 days before, I taught in China. Just 10 days before, I went to a school called CUPL, China University of Politics and Law. That's where I was teaching a course. Before that, I did a course at University of Maryland. So like you people came, I also came. I was out for 2 months. And I traveled whole of US and China. So you're enjoying your stay here? In what sense? Good food?
Yeah.
So many puppies on campus? Did you see so many dogs on campus?
Yes.
Did you see a professor with 7, 8 dogs?
No.
I haven't seen. I met her 2 days before. She's a French professor and she had 8 dogs. And I realized that she is my neighbor for last 6 months. Because all of them were barking in the night. So then I found out that she is my neighbor. And she is in the design school. So some idea about India over these few weeks. How many weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We've been here a week.
We've been here for 1 week.
For a
We
week?
have 2 weeks to go.
So some idea about India? You got some idea about India? Is this your first visit to India?
Yeah. Yes.
First time? So what was the first impression when you landed up in the airport? I'm sure you must have come to Delhi airport. Did you stand in that long queue for your visa stamping? Too many people there?
Yeah.
Did you go before that and saw those poses or pictures were like this, like
Yeah.
this, like this? Do you remember those scenes?
Yes.
That's was how India is, chaotic, right? Too much of crowd, chaotic, eagerness to grow big. That was the desire of, that's how India is being talked about, right? In old days, you are students of law, I'm sure. You study law? That's what, okay. In the old days, how exactly you will go and define progress? What's the definition of progress? Countries grow, progress. What is the definition in old days?
Becoming more modern.
In old days, for a country, progress means more land. Go and fight the war and then acquire more and more land. That's what. So when you read history, you read about great kings who conquered different parts of the world. Did you read about Alexander? There's a great king called Alexander who conquered the whole world. So definition of success or progress was how much land you own, right? How big is your territory? How big is your kingdom? So that made some English people to explore, make some big boats, they call them as ships, some Spanish people to go there, some Dutch people to go there. Without knowing where they are going, they landed up in a country and they thought that country is India. right? They should have come to the east to reach India. They went to the west to find out India. And later on, that country was known as United States of America. So Columbus actually wanted to come to India. He ended up in US, and he thought that's India, right? And so all those people whom he met in that land, he called them as Indians. So all the aborigines in US, the people who lived in US, are called Indians because Columbus thought that's India, right? Why do you think these people were going in the sea and traveling to distant places and searching for India? Why they were not searching for Pakistan? There's no Pakistan at that time, is not it? And I think in 10 years' time, there will be no Pakistan also, right? I'm very hopeful.
Why?
I teach a course called Emerging Markets, right? It's about emerging markets. You know what are emerging markets? India, China, Brazil, Russia, South Africa. We call them as BRICS. You know brick? You build a building, brick. It's called a brick, called BRIC nations. So there are developed countries, US, England, France, Germany. And you have poor countries, Lagos, Ethiopia, in Africa, poor countries, Nepal, Bangladesh, very poor countries. And in between are these countries, right, called India, Brazil, Russia, South Africa, China, are in between ones, right? So you have something here, and something in between. Something here, too much has been done. Markets are mature. Demands are flat. Opportunities are restricted. That's how developed countries are, no growth countries. What's the growth rate of US? 2%? But it's an elephant. Even if the elephant grows 2%, is a big growth in that sense. What happens to these countries? Ethiopia, Lagos, Congo, Bangladesh, these countries, very poor. Disease, poverty, all problems in this kind of countries. Opportunity to grow is limited here. Why? No resources. No technical manpower, no resources. So these countries are poor countries. We call them as LDC, least developed countries. And we have these countries called DCs, developed countries. And in between are emerging markets. So the whole world looks up to these countries. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and few more countries. So what do you find here? Imbalance. There are few countries which are very rich. There is large number of countries which are poor. And there are few countries which are trying to come in between, moving from this direction to this direction, right? That's how these countries are. That is how the world is designed at this point of time. That is how the world looks at. So stage one, more land you own, bigger you are, stronger you are. So growth, progress was defined by land. What happened before that? When countries were very small, they always tried to acquire assets. What were the assets? Cows. People had more cows. If you have seen a movie called Australia, have you seen this movie called Australia? One of the beautiful love stories, Jude Law, Nicole Kidman's movie. Huh? That's about cows, lot of cattle. I think that's a love story between a barren English woman and a little boy called Nala, if you remember the movie there. So cow was treated as property at some point of time. Cattle was a property there. Then land came into picture. So people wanted to own more and more land. What is the definition of progress today? If in the history, progress means cows, progress means land. Today, what's progress mean? How do we really go and define what is progress?
Money, wealth,
Wealth is actually an equivalence of cow, equivalence of land. Yes. What do you mean by progress today?
human rights,
Hmm?
human rights,
Human rights as the progress. Are you talking about equity among people?
yeah,
Equity among people is an indicator of progress. So maybe we can say human development index, right? Human development index is one index which is used for defining how much progress you have made. In human development index is a function of gross domestic product. Understand what is GDP? GDP. So we use GDP as an indicator. No? So you said that GDP is an indicator how countries are doing. This is how this is calculated. GDP. Any idea? You must have heard this word many times. Country's GDP, how it is calculated. All industries together, whatever they produce, gross domestic product, right? Isn't it? Production inside the country. So is it different from GNP?
Yes.
How they different?
I'm assuming GNP.
GNP stands for gross national product.
I'm assuming it includes exports.
Yes, exports and export earnings and expatriate income. If there are people living in other countries, like Chinese people living abroad, they send money back to China. So that money that flies in is actually not created within the country, it's created outside. But you also include that money because a lot of Chinese money comes back to Chinese markets, right? In India, a lot of money from a place called Kerala, where people are working outside, comes back to Kerala. Similarly, we have a place called Punjab, which is close to Delhi. A lot of people work in Canada and other parts, so their money comes back to India. So you'll have expatriate incomes, you'll have export incomes, you take them there. But this is one indicator that shows how the countries are doing there, right? What is the other indicator? What is your opinion about this boy?
Me?
Yes. Good, bad, okay, healthy? Okay.
Life expectancy?
You- Life expectancy?
For progress.
Oh no, I thought we were talking about you.
Yeah.
No, I asked them their opinion about you. What do you think about her? Him? Now she has gone to a spin. She has to drink water before she speaks. She won't comment anything. Oh, she's so scared of you.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
Right? So who spends maximum in this room? When you go out, who spends more?
out of us.
Hmm?
Out of all of us, who spends the most money?
Ah, maximum amount of money. Shopping, drinking, eating. Who spends more? Sardarji? I don't think he spends more money. Okay, who spends less? Who mostly survives on others? What about you?
No, I spend money.
Okay. So you understand that we also use something called per capita income, right? Is an indicator of how the country is doing. Per capita income of an American and per capita income of a Bangladeshi or a Nepali is different. is not it. So, we can divide the world by using certain kind of indices. One of the indices for dividing the world is gross domestic product. Other one is per capita income, right? Anything else? How business runs. Since you will be law students, it is very important for you to know how business runs and where does business make mistakes. And your job as a lawyer is to see that business does not make that mistake. And as a lawyer also you should see that if that makes a mistake, was a part to remedy, right? To be a preventive method, why they do not do that, do not go to the wrong side. And if they go to the wrong side, how exactly do you go and see that the injury is less, right? So that investors' wealth is protected in that sense, right? Because as he said that end of the day what matters is wealth, how much of value you have created for the countries, right? What else? You said Human Development Index, no? Human Development Index. I am sure when I say Human Development Index, you are taking something more than economics. You must be taking something related to health, you must be looking at something related to crime, how healthier people are, what percentage of people are healthier, right? You can't go there. She is reading about when she goes to Orissa, what she is going to see, but you can't go to this place.
Oh, really?
No, they don't permit you. So you can go to the beach and spend time on the beach. But when you are going to this place, you should go to the zoo in Bhubaneswar, the capital city, because you see white tigers there. Yeah, the world has got 138 white tigers, out of which 45 of them are there. That's the white tiger breeding center in the world. So you can go and see white tigers there. When you land up in the capital, I spoke to Son about how should you go, what places you should see there. So, but you can go to a temple called Konark Temple. That's one of the beautiful temples of India. You can go inside Konark Temple. So you should search Konark Temple, not this temple, right? And once I saw this, you are searching my temple, I moved out of Human Development Index. Okay? So obviously we are looking at other elements, economics, health, rate of crime in the society, and you look at this also, income. Do you look at income or something else? You will be looking at income, distribution, how this income is distributed among people. What does that mean? How many percentage of people are earning how much money? Is it a scenario where few people are making too much money and large number of people are not making any money? Is that country okay? I don't think you are going to vote, isn't it? It's good that if everybody makes some amount of money, right? So there is a concept in business called have you seen a pyramid, picture of a pyramid, or have you visited a pyramid? No, Egypt, you haven't visited Egypt? Oh. So what lies at the bottom of a pyramid?
Foundations?
Foundations. What else? In the pyramid like this, what lies in the bottom? Is there someone sleeping there? Bottom of the pyramid? They make somebody to sleep there and then build the pyramid over the person? Hmm? Actually, they put lot of wealth. When they bury the king there, they'll put lot of wealth around it. So if the king goes to the next world, he goes with the wealth. So he is happy there. So I went to China. I went to the Forbidden City in Beijing, and then they took me to the tombs. Outskirts of the city, they have the tombs where the kings were sleeping, right? So when you go to Forbidden City, the king will have a queen, but will have number of concubines. You understand what they are? Right, mistresses. So when the king dies, the prince will kill all the concubines and bury them around the tomb, so that when the king goes to the next world, he goes with all the mistresses. And they also put a lot of jewelry and gold and all that part. So in the next world, the king goes with all these women and jewelry there, right? So bottom of the pyramid is where the fortune lies. No? You call that as fortune. Fortune is at bottom of the pyramid. So when you see a pyramid, you see the beauty of the pyramid, but the real fortune lies at the bottom. So I'm sure you must have seen a lot of movies on that. You do see some series of movies related to pyramids, Hollywood movies like Mummy Returns, Scorpion King. All that is about excavation, breaking those pyramids, going inside it, searching for wealth, searching for that mystery part of it, you know, if you see those movies. So fortune is at the bottom of pyramid. What does that mean? That if you look at income distribution in the world looks like a pyramid. A lot of people said the world is circular. No, people said world is spherical. Galileo or somebody said like that. And then you have guys who wrote a book called The World is Flat. Somebody came and said the world is flat. Now somebody comes and tells you actually the world is a pyramid. So you have all the high income people are here, but a large chunk of the population are here, who are earning less than $2 per day. So 65% of India's population, those who live in the village, earn less than $2 a day, right? So if you map the whole world, you will find out almost 80% of world's population, they survive by making less than $2 a day. So if you really want the world to change,
Is that US dollars?
Yes, USD, yes. So if you really want the world to change, if you really want countries like India, China, poor countries to change, you should build your business around not the top of the world, but at the bottom of the world. If you can make a business plan or business strategy that works here, that means it will work 80% of the world. Or in India, at least 65% of the world, it will work. If you succeed here, you will succeed. Unfortunately, many companies who are good at their strategies here, they don't know how to succeed here. So whenever they try to go to these markets, they miserably fail because they don't know how to do that part. Many multinational companies, right? Like Lever. You know Lever? Procter and Gamble. Do you know a brand called Dove? D-O-V-E?
Yeah.
That comes from Lever. Do you know a shampoo called Heads and Shoulders? Pantene, that comes from Procter and Gamble. So these are all leading multinational companies, right? Do you know a company called GE? GE, General Electric, Microsoft, Google, they're all multinational companies. So when they try to go to the bottom of pyramid, where large part of world's population are, they fail, right? So this market is small, saturated, highly competitive, everybody wants to enter there. This market is large, no competition, not many people have been successful, but nobody wants to go there.
Doesn't it make a lot more sense though to enter the top market because that's where all the money is?
Yeah, that's the easiest one to do, but everybody goes there.
That's right.
The surplus is there,
Yeah.
but the number of people for that surplus, competition is very high.
Right.
That's why the market is flat, there is no growth.
And you're saying if you can produce a product that it can reach like a poorer portion of.
It's not only product is just one part of a business,
Yeah.
but if you have everything else, definitely yes. I can give example. In whole over the world, most of the samples, people buy shampoos by bottles, is not it? They buy by bottles. You buy shampoo bottles, right? You must be paying $2, $3. How much do you pay for a shampoo bottle? I can't ask this question to him because situation is difficult here. $2, $3. How much do you pay for a bottle of shampoo in Australia?
$4 or $5. 4 or 5 for a big one, yeah.
The 5 ones. So $5 Australian dollars would be around $300 in India, $250 in India.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too much. Even I won't buy, right? And people in the large part of India, they make $2 or $3 per day, which is around $180 Indian. $3 will be 60, 70, $200 Indian rupees. Do you have Indian currency with you? Yeah, 200 only. So they make only 200 per day, and they have to survive in that money. If you ask them to buy a pack of shampoo by spending 200, which is almost equal to 1 day's income, they can buy. But you ask them, do you want to use shampoo? Oh, why not? Yes. If it is available free, I'll use. But company can't give free. It's not possible for a company to give it free.
Is that why in India you have like the small sachets of things?
That's the idea we have. It's not only the product, but packaging is also very important. And pricing is also very important. So in India, when you go to a retail store, you find out those small sachets, which will be 1 rupee, 2 wash, 1 wash or 2 wash maximum. So they may buy 10 washes per month, which is 10 rupees, yet they can use shampoo. So it's not only an innovation that you do on a product, there's no innovation, the same shampoo. What you have worked is the pricing. What you have worked is the packaging. What you have worked is distribution. So where is this big bottle of shampoo sold? In the big store. Where is this sachet sold? On the street side store. So you decide where you want to distribute. Do you want to distribute in a big store? Nobody will buy there. You want to distribute in the small stores where everybody goes in, it's called a convenience store, small retail stores, people will go and buy there. So it's not only purely a product related decision, it's of course a pricing decision, packaging distribution, distribution decision, promotion distribution. It's not it. If a shampoo comes and tells you, oh, it makes your hair smoother, like silk, right? Oh, you feel so happy about that part. But people, those who work as construction workers, the ladies, and you go and tell them your hair will be silkier, they are not interested in that. They want a good wash because it's dirty. They are lifting stuff on the head and working there. So somebody goes and tells them, this is the strongest shampoo we have made. If the same guy comes and says, this is the strongest shampoo we have made, you just look at him and you feel scared. Strongest shampoo, I'm going to lose all my hair. But there, the lady says, strongest shampoo means it will clean better, more effective. So the language of communication also changes when you go to the bottom of pyramid market, right? So, yes.
I have a question. So you were talking about how most of the wealth is at the bottom of the pyramid,
Ah.
and that if you want to make, for instance, like target the most of the population, then you should, like, you know, work in that area in terms of your business. Given that nowadays, like the bottom of the pyramid is actually dominated especially since those multinationals have the advantage of economy of scale. It's pretty much impossible for like a startup or like, you know, a small company to do that.
Unfortunately, multinationals have disadvantage in this market, right? The reason being multinational have wider distribution networks. So there is a large distribution cost for them, right? So it's a challenge for large corporates to contribute towards bottom-up pyramid, because the margins which you have in the bottom-up pyramid is very thin. So when you look at the overheads of a large multinational company versus the margin that they get, many multinational companies don't like bottom-up pyramid markets.
But isn't that why you use the example of like Unilever, which is an Indian company at the moment?
Which one?
Unilever?
Unilever has got a very small percentage of market share in that market, as far as shampoos are concerned.
How about like P&G, like Procter?
Very small. Maybe there are, I can give you 3 or 4 domestic companies which are far, far ahead in these markets than Indian companies. Because number one, the overhead costs of a large company is very high. So in a developed market, what works is economy of scale, right? But in a developing market, what works is economy of scope, right? So you don't go and sell one product there. You sell a basket there. A customer who walks in actually needs the whole basket. So if you are manufacturing those stuff there, then naturally you are successful. Which is the most successful Indian company you know?
Oh, that's a great.
Yeah, Tata, yes. Most of the people know that. It's called Tata. What do they make?
Well, they own everything.
Yes.
Especially vehicles. I don't know if you-
Cars, steel, salt, chemicals, finance, defense, everything. That's the definition of scope, right? They own everything. Go to Korea and look at a company called LG. What do they make? Very similar to Tata. They're there in all businesses. If you look at a company called GE, they are a global scale, focused business. It's economy of scale. But if you look at company like Tata or LG or Samsung or Huawei in China, all of them, they do scope business. They don't do scale business, they do scope business. That's a different model which you use for these markets. Scale matters, but if it doesn't have scope, scale has its own limitations, because in a scale, you need to grow higher up or down, right? You produce for one, successful, go to next, successful, go next. You produce here, successful, go up. Going up to down is easy, down to up is difficult many a times. But what we do is that we look at basket. I can give you how people or CEOs have vision, right? So here is a great Indian company, and very similar to the Coca-Cola CEO's vision. Some years back, 10 years back, the CEO of Coca-Cola asked a question to his strategy team, right? And he said, how are we doing? No, all CEOs do like this. In our CEO also asked the same question yesterday to me. I went to meet the chancellor of the university, who is the chairman of the steel company. Yesterday I had a meeting with him. So he said, how we are doing? Means he's not asking how the university is doing. He's asking how his business is doing, because he knows that we are watching his business as an outsider, not being part of business. So he asked how business is doing. So Coca-Cola CEO asked a question, how are we doing? And somebody said, oh sir, we are growing 3% better than Pepsi, right? But globally, Coke is the market leader. Pepsi is smaller than Coke. So naturally, if you say that you are growing better than Pepsi, that's not a good benchmark, because anyway Pepsi is a smaller company compared to Coca-Cola. 18% of global market share was a 3% of market share. So if you are growing 2% bigger than Pepsi, means you are growing very small. If the Pepsi CEO asks this question and the Pepsi guys say, oh, we are doing 2% better than Coke, is meaningful because Coke is bigger. But Coke guy asks and Pepsi fellow say like this. So he asked another question. So he said, can you tell me how much money that an American is spending on Coca-Cola? If an American earns $1, what percentage of that dollar Coke earns? All the Coke products they have got, how much the person spends on Coke products there? So 27 cents, just 27. So a person makes 1 and Coke takes away 27. He says, no, that's how you should set your goal, that from 27, can this be made 40? So if an American spends $1, 40% of that spending should be on Coke products. So they decided to enter into water business, they decided to enter into Sunfields, which is their brand on concentrate, fruit concentrate business. So they created new business categories. Same thing happens in India. So you have a company which has a vision that whenever an Indian will spend $1, 67% of dollar he should earn. Right? Which company is this? For example, there's, oh, the shoe that you wear, the sole of your shoe should come from my business. Because I am into refinery and a byproduct of that refinery, I can make shoe laces, shoe. The bottom of your shoe, I can do that part. Or you want retail, fuel, I'll give you fuel. Or you want jewelry, I'll give you jewelry. You want fashion class, I'll give you fashion class. You want mobile, I'll give you mobile phones. So each aspect of your spending, whatever you spend, I'll have a share on each one of them. That's the definition of scope, right? It's called Reliance Industries, right? The largest business of the most wealthiest man comes from Reliance. If you've heard his name, called Mukesh Ambani. He lives in Mumbai. He has the most rich house in Mumbai there. So economy of scope is very important. What I'm trying to say is that if you have to succeed in businesses in India, you should not look at or copy an American model of business. What you have to look at is the Indian model of business. So what are those couple of examples of Indian model of business which has been very successful at bottom of pyramid markets? Couple of them, which will be easy for us to comprehend how business happens in India, or what is the right kind of a model in Indian context to work on. Okay? So have you heard about a hospital called Arvind Eye Hospital? This is the name of the hospital, Arvind Eye Hospital. Ever come across any news about this hospital? Do you know where is this hospital located? Arvind Eye Hospital. It's an eye care hospital. Do you go to a doctor for eye care? Have you ever been to a doctor for eye care?
I go to an optometrist.
Ah.
Yeah.
So what was the problem?
Oh, just a checkup.
Just a
Yeah,
checkup.
I haven't had any problems.
So
with that.
50 years down the line, will you go again?
Oh, I go like every 2 years.
50 years down the line,
I'll probably go.
you'll be
again.
more dependent on a doctor?
Probably. Hopefully
Probably
not,
more.
but,
Why?
because I'll be older, like my eyes won't be as,
Weaker.
yeah.
You'll have cataract.
Yeah, let's hope not.
No? It's natural.
Yeah.
Growth of cataract is a natural process, right? Like your skin ages, so also the lens will age and you'll have cataract problem. If you are not taking good care of your eyes, right, you're likely to have. But if you have proteinous food, you have a healthy lifestyle, there is a chance that it will come very late, right? But surely it is going to come, whether it comes in 60, 80, 90, 100, how long do you want to live?
I reckon 90.
Forever? When you are 90-year-old, there will be no dead bodies, no? You can buy your hand from the market You can buy your eyes. You'll have a lot of implants by that time. Your generation is the last generation which will ever die. By the time you grow old, there will be nothing called death because you will have all spare parts. You'll have silicon chips, silicon bodies available. So you can remove this hand, get another hand and fit it. So it will be very confusing to find out whether you are talking to a machine or you are talking to a human being, right? So you'll have your heart, dysfunctional heart, you can have an artificial heart, the biological heart I am talking about. Your brain is not functioning, so you can have a computer programmed which will help your brain to work on. We are heading towards a world like that. So today we have machine and you have human being. 25 years down the line, this separation will be blurred. You'll have combinations of that. So whatever you are watching in cartoon films and those stories will become a reality in your time. So you are the last generation who are going to die. All of you will be alive, maybe in zombie forms. It will be like zombies there. Okay? So here is a hospital which does eye surgery, right? And you know how much of money is required for an eye surgery. You go to hospital, get admitted, you stay there, doctor will do a surgery. It will be around 20,000 Indian rupees for one cataract surgery, right? But when you go to this hospital, you can get that done in 2,000 rupees. It's possible you can get that at a far lower price. And anyone who has undergone a surgery in this room? Surgery ever? Some kind of small surgery? Teeth surgery. No, you are admitted, you are sleeping there, people are coming with flowers, cards to issue, get well soon, right? You must have seen somebody in the family doing that part, no? Going to a hospital. So there has to be a hospital bed, there will be a couple of nurses, there will be drips into that part. But in this hospital, the patients are on conveyor belts because they analyzed and they found out that the eye doctor's role is only for 15 minutes in a 3-hour surgery. So the doctor will be standing there only for 15 minutes, do the surgery, next patient comes in conveyor belt, 15 minutes, next patient. So instead of doing 5 surgery per day, this hospital does 20,000 surgeries now, 20,000. And they have a business which will be there for 90 years because Indian people suffer more from cataract problems there. So how it happens? What is the model for their business? What do they do? It's called cross-subsidization model. Those who can afford, they pay more. So the money which comes from them helps in cross-subsidizing for the poor people. So more and more people can have access to health care. Because you told me that Human Development Index, a life index, has got a big component called health. So how do you go and deliver affordable health care to more and more people in a country like India? Can you develop a business model through which you can provide affordable health care to more number of people? Because volume is not a challenge, margin is a challenge, profit per person is a challenge, number of people, so many here, right? Mind-boggling number of people. When you go to Taj Mahal, you will find out how people are pulling you and doing that part. Did you go to CP? They have gone there? Lal Killa, CP, all those places? Once you go there, then you will experience the real India. But I'm sure you must have seen some Hollywood movies shot in Indian markets and how they are crowded there. So number of people is not a challenge. Profit per person is a challenge. So profit per person is a challenge. How do you build up an alternative business model of cross-subsidization of profit so that you rich people pay more and you subsidize for the poor people? That was the story of Aurobindo Eye Hospital. Yes.
I have a question. So what you're talking about, is it similar to like insurance in a way? Like
Which one?
insurance. So is there a concept of insurance in India and is it possible?
I'll come to another story where insurance is an experiment, but here is no insurance. not common for people to go for medical insurance. Not many people go for that. Even people who can afford, they don't go for that. When they land up in the hospital, they find, oh, we could have gone for an insurance. But more people have started doing it. I'm talking about poor people. How do you go and provide eye care to large number of 60% of India? You know what's India's population? 1.2 billion. So 60% of that are poor. How do you go and develop a business so that it touches all the 60% of the people there? One of these model is the cross-subsidization model. Right?
Turn a profit on the
Yeah, yes.
even on the lowest.
Yeah, that's what I talked about. You understand what it is meaning? Profit, right? When I say fortune at the bottom of pyramid, it means profit at the bottom of the pyramid. Whether there is an opportunity and how do you really make profit out of that opportunity.
But they still make a positive margin even on the lowest.
Yes, they make it by a cross-subsidization model. So there is one hospital in Bangalore. You know Bangalore? Heard about Bangalore? The IT hub of India. All IT companies are there. All large IT companies are there. So this hospital is called Narayan Heart Hospital, right? You know this what it means? What it means, Narayan? Narayan means God, right? So here is a very successful doctor called Devi Sethi. His name is Devi Sethi. He goes and creates a hospital, a heart hospital, which is a specialized hospital for heart care. Maximum number of heart patients are in India because of bad food habits and lifestyles. We get more heart issues here, there. And most of the children are born with heart ailments. And unless they are being cured quickly, they are going to die. So he built up, you can later on go back and search how philanthropy and business can go together. How you do good things for people, yet make money out of the process there. So they are also doing a good business here. Fortune at the bottom of pyramid part of it. So what I am trying to drive in with these examples, whether it is a pack of shampoo or a perfume or a toothpaste or a small soap or eye care or heart care, that in India, if you have to succeed, you have to think about a different business model. You cannot really work on the business models of the West and bring them here and achieve long-term success in the marketplace, right? So there are two more factors that now I will bring into our conversations, right? One factor is called information asymmetry. This is to explain how India is changing from a business point of view. So when you study about society, world, business, you come across this term called information asymmetry. What is symmetry? What is symmetry?
When something is the same.
Balanced, same. Both sides are same or both are balanced. So it looks like the information is not balanced at both ends. So what are these two ends? Obviously the producer end or the company's end or the business end, and the other side is the consumer end. So the amount of information which this guy has got and the amount of information which this guy has got are not equal. What happens because of this?
Customer pays more than they should.
Yes, the customer is fooled sometimes. The customer has to pay more, but the customer cannot discover the price, right? When there is information asymmetry, it creates a problem on price discovery, right? whether you are paying right price or not, right? So you have a problem of price discovery. So who lives in rural India? I think many professors must have come and spoken to you about India. So you know that in rural India you have farmers, right? Mostly people are farmers. But Indian farmer is different than Australian farmer, is different than an European farmer. In what sense?
They sell locally.
Is land holding. Indian farmer's land holding is very small, right? So he has got a very small piece of land compared to an Australian farmer or European farmer, probably who has got 1,000 acres of land and hundreds of acres of land. It's very rare that an Indian farmer will have even 5 acres of land also, very marginal. So they have marginal farmers, land holding, so you have marginal farmers. So what happens if a farmer has lot of land? In a transaction like this, he has higher bargaining power because he has more land, he has got more crop, so he has got higher bargaining power. He can negotiate with the buyer and get the right price. But what happens if his land holding is small?
Lower bargaining power.
No bargaining power almost. Why? He needs to sell his output so that he can have money to survive. So large part of this community is on subsistence, very subsistence farmers. So the large corporations who have money have more power. The small farmers, poor farmers distributed across the small villages have no power. So it is a case of imbalance of power in a transaction. So who comes in between? A power broker, is not it? A power broker comes in between, who has all the information from both sides and tells them, oh, 1 ton of rice, I can maximum pay you $1,000, not more than that. Goes to the farmer and says, 1 ton of rice, I'll give you $500, right? So he comes in between. So he commits a price of 500 to the farmer, the poor farmer has to sell, and he goes to the buyer and says it will be not less than 1,000. At the end result of this story, the farmer gets very less, the middleman makes more, right? So the middleman becomes more richer, he makes more money, farmer remains such poor. Why? Because the right informations are not available at both ends, right? So here is a company called ITC. That's the name of the company, called ITC. If you search, it will read as Indian Tobacco Company, right? So you must be wondering, what's this company, tobacco company, doing? So this is a part of BTC, British Tobacco Company. When they left India, they left this business here. They're mostly selling cigarettes. But over the years, they have become a food company. So the cigarette contributes 1/3 of their revenue now. They're into hospitality, they're on big hotels, 5-star hotels. They are food categories, they're into personal care categories, right? So what ITC created? ITC created an information platform called eChaupal, right? That platform is called eChaupal. E is internet, right? E word is used for internet. This is a word in Hindi called Chaupal, right? What is Chaupal, Siddharth ji? Any idea? Chaupal, please explain.
Where people sit and
Gossip.
gossip.
A place of social exchange. People will sit there, talk to each other and gossip a bit about life, play cards, right? So this is there in every village. Center part of the village there will be a tree, These people will come and they'll chat in that case. So here is so what is Chopal? Exchange of ideas, right? A social gathering for exchange of ideas. So ITC created an internet-based Chopal where the farmers can go and what can they do? They can discover the price. What is the price of their output? Which market the price is highest? They can find out. So they can collect all the information which are available and sell the right or get the right price from the marketplace. It's not only confined to that, only farmers. I'll give you another example. When you go to Kerala, if you have India's map, you know this is India's map. I hope you have seen India's map. So Kerala is here. Down below here is Kerala. All of you are sitting in my class here. Not part. So Kerala here. They get a lot of fish, right? So they will start from point A. They'll go to the sea and they'll come back to point A. But that's where they live. When they come back, they'll have different kind of catch. Someday they'll have more fish. Someday they'll have less fish. So it's very difficult on a day when they have more fish to get the right price. So now what do they do? Couple of students, old students of mine, they have created a mobile app. And all these fishermen, when they go to the deep sea, they have this mobile app. And when they catch the fish, they look at the mobile app and there are 10, 20 points where the fishes are being sold, right? And the prices are being quoted there. So instead of coming back to the same place, they go to the place where they get the highest price. So they start from here, they go to the sea, do fishing, come back there, sell there and come home, instead of coming back to the same place and selling there. And this is all possible because of mobile telephony technology, so that they can discover prices. So one of,
What's that app called?
it's a fish app.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
called the Fish app.
Fish app, yes, fish app. So you can read more. I'll give you the name of the book which has got whatever I'm talking about. I'll give you the source at the end of the lecture so that you can read about how different India is to make business and what are the new way of doing business. And I'll give you the book, there's a book called The Power of Unreasonable People. That's the name of the book to read. The Power of Unreasonable People. Later on you can read this book also.
Is that available to purchase?
Yeah, yes, it's by Harvard professors. It's written by Harvard professors. Power of Unreasonable Book. So they have come out with alternate business models. There are 3 business models that they have come out in this book. So which university you study? Monash. And end of it you get a degree. How about a university which teaches you but doesn't give you degree?
Wouldn't go.
Hmm?
Wouldn't go, would you?
You go to Monash and they don't give you a degree. Will you go there? Oh, you want a degree. So we have a college in India called Barefoot College. Barefoot College, right? They don't give a degree. You go to this college, you study free, you become an engineer, you don't get a certificate. You don't need one actually. If you know the skill, you don't need a certificate. You doubt my statement? I can read that in your eyes, that you are doubting my statement, right? That's true. This college creates air conditioning engineers, automobile engineers, but without giving them a degree. Because a lot of Indian schools give a lot of degrees which have no meaning. They don't know the subject, but they have a degree. So how about people giving them the knowledge, not giving them a degree? If they have to earn, they have to prove themselves, right? So this is one kind of a business model where external people fund such activities because this is free, right? So when you read the power of the book, The Power of Unreasonable People, they talk about this college there.
So you don't have to pay to...
No, you don't have to pay. Yes, you don't have to pay. It's mostly a skilled apprenticeship program that you can have. the Roman Magazine award-winning person heading this school, his name is called Banker Rai, is very close to this place. The place called Tilonia. It's close to Tilonia in Rajasthan where he runs it. He was a civil servant, the top job of India he was doing. He left the job, he came back and started this. And when you read about Barefoot College, it's not about 100 people or 200 people. You can see how many thousands of people they have given opportunities and the jobs there. But pure play, this is a model where somebody else gives the fund and you run the school there, right? That's one kind of model.
Is it profitable, or is it just purely money going in?
Money comes in and then it's sustainable. In business, in true sense, if you look at a business, you should look at business being sustainable than profitable. So profit should be a byproduct of a business process, not should be the sole goal of a business there. If you are only investor focus, shareholder focus, then probably you talk about profit. But if you are stakeholder focus, you go beyond the shareholders, then it is not profit, it is sustainability that works. So the world is more balanced if it is more stakeholder focus than shareholder focus. When I say stakeholder, I also include shareholder in that, they are part of it, but not only shareholders. The problems of the world is because the business has created more wealth for fewer people. If the business can create wealth for more and more people, world will be a better place to live. That's why you read the book called The World is Flat. He talks about that, but how it is evolving there, right? Okay. So this is a college, fund comes from there and they run the show. I gave you example of the eye hospital and heart hospital, where the rich can pay, the poor gets the benefit, cross subsidization of profit model, right? The third model I just talked about, where you look at stakeholders than shareholders. So if you look at stakeholders, there is a balancing of your profit approach than looking into shareholders. So essentially, for a good business, there are three models. First model is pure play, a social model, where profit is not important, like Barefoot College. The second model is a cross subsidization model. Make profit from those who can and distribute that profit and provide services to people who can't. And third model is a pure play sustainable profit model, where you focus on shareholders, stakeholders, not purely on shareholders. Essentially, that's what when you read the book about, right? When you read this book, it's there's an interesting company. It talks about an interesting company. You should know about this. So, few years before, it was found out that somebody is rigging a stock. You know stock rigging, right? Law students should know what is stock rigging. It's an economic offense, right? So there's a company called Danone. You know Danone? The food company called Danone, right? So somebody was rigging Danone stocks, and they found out the guy who was rigging the stock because he wanted to acquire this company. So he wanted the stock price to come down so that he can buy this company, right? I know 100 ways of doing it, but I won't teach you in this class, right? How to do that, because he's recording the session, so I'll not talk that. Okay? So here is a guy who is a psychologist, right? He studies psychology. He gets his first job. So his first job is in a jail, right? Because every jail should have a psychologist. Otherwise, how do you control the violent behavior? You know jail violence, a lot of jail violence happens there. So when he goes to the jail, he finds out that these all big guys, heavily built guys, are making paper packets, are making small things. He said, this is waste of time. Why these fellows are making these small paper packets and all that part, right? It's a pure play wastage of time. So he said they should do some work which is heavy because they are strong and they can channelize their energy. So he goes with a proposal to start a dairy farm. So he goes to a banker, and in the bank, the banker asks, who are you? He says, I work in this jail. What's your qualification? He says, I'm a psychologist. What business you want to do? Dairy business. Who will work there? Criminals. Do you think any bank will give you money? If you are a psychologist who wants to start a dairy business and criminals are the stakeholders there, nobody will give you money. right? So he is actually a cranky guy, but he created a company, food company, large food company he created. So this large food company owners are actually criminals in the jails. So the equity, the hard work they do there is given them into equity, and the profit that they make is actually given back to their family members, right? And that's the same guy who was rigging the stock, right? So it is a pure play profit-based model. So you have three models that you get, but behind all three models are unreasonable people who think differently to bring changes through business, right? So business is not always for profit. It can give you profit plus other things that you can do. So one of the factors is,
Did you imply that he knew that the banker was going to reject his proposal, and that's how he was rigging the stock?
no, this stock rigging happened later on.
Okay.
He started the company earlier.
Yeah.
Then after being successful, he wanted to buy Danone. He started rigging the stock.
Okay.
Otherwise, his first part is very solid story to talk about, right? Stock rigging and this two different points of time, right? He did later on. So one factor in markets like India to really worry about is information asymmetry, right? So can somebody come and bridge this gap, provide information? So from here you got this jacket.
From where? Clothes shop.
How many of you really go to internet and do buying? Internet buying? All of you buy? Girls buy more, I know. Where do you go? Which website? eBay? Amazon? Iconic. Do they manufacture anything? No. What model they are?
Our clothing market in Australia is very not
They are essentially aggregators. They are aggregators. So there are three suppliers. They bring these three suppliers to the internet platform. There are 20 customers. They bring 20 customers to the platform, and they allow them to transact on the platform. That's what is e-commerce, no? That's how e-commerce happens, right? What's an e-commerce model? Aggregators model. So on one end, you have suppliers. You bring them to a common place, and then there are thousands of customers. You bring them, and then there is transaction on internet. Online, you call online, no? Online transaction. You call them as online transaction. Can you name some companies which does like this? eBay,
Gumtree.
Amazon, Alibaba, Flipkart. Flipkart is very big in India. Alibaba is very big in China. They don't own anything. They're just a marketplace, right? This is called marketplace model, right? So they create the marketplace. So what do they own? They only own www.alibaba.com. The skin, they only own the skin. So behind that, you have all Chinese suppliers, and then you have millions of Chinese customers there. So what is this guy doing? Is actually bridging the gap, is killing that concept called information asymmetry. It provides right information to both parties so they can come back together. What are the other business models on internet? Internet business models. Today internet fraud is highest, no? So law student must be knowing what are the business models on internet. Okay, the first one is called marketplace model. You understood what is marketplace? What I am talking about, aggregator model. Any other internet based model you know? That's a business nowadays. You can have inventory based models. A company which has offline business can create an online business. It has its own inventory, can start selling those inventory there. Most of the hotels are like that. They sell offline as well as online. You can go to the hotel site. Airlines are like that. They have their passenger inventory. You can go and book your ticket. So either you can go to cleartrip.com or you can go to the particular airline and buy from there. So these are inventory based models, company owned inventory based models.
Some services can be sold online.
Product, services, fashion, entertainment, everything can be sold online. But who sells that? What is the business model? What are the internet based business models? Okay. Have you visited auction sites? Auction models? For example, a website like priceline.com, www.priceline.com is an auction model, right? How many type of auctions are there? How many types of auctions? Auctions.
On Priceline.
Auction, the word I have written here.
You can have open bidding and you can have tenders.
There are two kind of auctions. One is called English auction and the other one is called Dutch auction. No? English auction, Dutch auction. What happens in English auction? Who bids the highest? He wins. Who bids the highest? He wins. What happens in Dutch auction? Who bids the lowest? He wins. Gotcha. Right? No? English auction is where? Highest bidder wins.
Purchases are competing.
That means lot of demand, less of supply. If the supply is less and demand is more, who pays highest, he wins. What is the Dutch auction? Lowest. It's the lowest one. Why? Yes.
I'm just wondering, so what kind of business model would you classify websites like Facebook or in like China they have like Weibo or Weibo? Like what kind of business models would they be classified as?
Facebook is actually advertising based business model. It's an impression based business model. How many eyeballs are there? If nobody goes to Facebook, there is no advertising revenue. Right? So on internet, if you look at internet, there are unintended consequences of internet. I'll just take 1 minute to explain what it means. Because of internet revolution, very interesting things have evolved. 5 things have evolved. I'll give you what are these 5 things. There are companies which have emerged, those who are in the business of thought tracing. They go and trace your thoughts, right? I wrote a couple of articles on this. They are into thought tracing. Can you name some companies which are into this business? Google, yes. So Google knows what you are going to do. So you'll go to a website, from there you will put a word and then you'll go to a page and then you'll go into the page. In the page you'll click a link, in the link you will read something, then you'll take an action. And Google is following you, right? And what Google does, wherever you go, they put an ad before that, right? So Google is actually in the business of thought tracing. The search engine that it has got, right? It is called something called search engine response page, SERP. You know, the algorithm which is being used lands up into a page like that, and before that it will put your ads, and you have to bid. Who pays the highest, he gets that word, right? The English auction model. So companies like Google, Bing, Baidu are in the business of thought tracing, right? What's the second thing that happened? I don't know how to use this word, but while I am taking the class, I can see that somebody is in YouTube, somebody is in Facebook, somebody has opened up email, right? And in between you will be checking your phones, right? And how much time do you check your phone in between? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, right? 10 minutes or less than that? How many times you have checked your phone in last 1 hour?
Never. Once maybe.
Oh, once there, okay. So all of you suffer from a disease. You know the name of the disease? It's a big problem, big disease. Most of you suffer from that disease. You know the disease is called something big must have happened. That's the name of the disease. Something big must have happened. That's why you go back every 10 minutes and check your phone. Oh, I'm out of the world. Did something big happen in the world? So you'll go and check. Nothing happened, you feel so bad, you put your phone down. And then you wait. Another 10 minutes, again you go back. Has something happened in the world? Oh, nothing happened, you put it. And then suddenly you find out that there's some football match going on there and there's some fighting there. Like, share. You do that part. So all of you are suffering from that disease called something big is happening disease. So all of you are networked. You don't know how many millions of lines of network is just going on top of your head. Don't you think that's an opportunity for us, marketers, of this ubiquitous connectivity, that you are always connected? Oh, I have an opportunity here. I can go and put my products, sell my products through the method there. This is another change which is happening, right? What else is happening? We are so lonely. God created us and just kicked us to this world. Our parents don't listen to us. Our friends don't listen to us. So let me go to some place, find out some friends, network with them, talk to them, share my photo, share my happiness. You know, last night I ate some dinner. Dinner was very bad on Facebook. Right? Oh, I was traveling there. I found out this broken bus, picture of the broken bus in the Facebook. So you are so curious to do social exchanges. And here is somebody who looks into that. And he's in Harvard Business School guy. He looks into that. Says, oh, people want to have a social exchange. Let me build a business model around that. And then becomes Facebook for you, right? Then it's a Facebook for you. And then if you go back your home, you have so many things to sell, right? So many items which are useless. Sometimes you feel, I should throw them out. You make certain things, you want to sell, you are searching for doing something. So what you are interested is on property exchange. So what business model comes out of that? Property exchange. eBay, isn't that it? eBay comes out of it. What else comes out of it? Many companies where you can go and do a peer-to-peer sales. You want to sell your hair? Yeah, I saw somebody sold his forehead. Right? He went to internet and said, my forehead is available for 1 month. Pepsi bought it. Pepsi said that for 1 month we'll pay you $1,000, write Pepsi here. So for a whole month he was traveling everywhere writing Pepsi there. Right? You can go back and say, oh, I want to sell my shoes. I want to sell my car. Right? I want to sell something. So people want to sell and buy. Property exchange. So there are business models coming out of it. eBay is an example of how you can go to internet and buy and sell properties there. What else? Did you see this boy? Right? Our girls do that during marriage functions, right? What is this? Where did you do it?
Shokidani.
Chokidani?
Yeah.
And what is mean? What does it mean?
I don't know.
Right? No? Okay, he is wearing a black suit. I went to a particular country and I was warned that I should not wear a red colored suit. So I was wondering why. They said, no, if you go to a club by wearing a red colored suit, they think that you are a guy who does the same sex practice. Right? So there are cultural symbols by which your behaviors and orientations are identified. Right? your sexual behavior is identified by a particular dressing pattern, whether you have pierced it here, you have pierced it here, or you have pierced it here, whatever you have done. I don't think that's bad, because people are free to decide their sexual orientation, but they'll have their groups there. No? So have you gone to a website called secondlife.com? No? Secondlife.com is an interesting place. So all those hidden desires of yours, which you have not been able to fulfill here, you go and fulfill there. You can buy a big house, you can have a car, you can have 3 wives or 4 boyfriends. Everything is possible in that world. And we as marketers, we are waiting. So when you are driving that virtual car, we will put a virtual hoarding called Coca-Cola there. Right? I work for Coca-Cola in India. I advise them. So it's written there. So secondlife.com. So there is something called Jinktopia. Heard about this? Jinktopia. Girls, it's mostly meant for girls. Right? It says that design your own jeans. The jeans that you wear. You can go there and you can design your own jeans. You want to have steel rods, you want to have pipes, brass, coconut, whatever you want to have, you can fix and they'll design the jean for you. Right? So what people are doing, there's a one Chinese guy, he a Korean guy, he's a very good dancer. The Korean dance. Huh?
Gangnam Style.
Hmm?
The Gangnam Style.
Yes. 90% of young kids below 23 are in his fan club in South Korea. 90% of them, right? The way he dresses up, the way he dances, people do that. So we have culture, but we are also interested for cultural exchange. And that creates few business models also. So when you look at the internet revolution has brought these 5 things. Okay? Thought tracing, ubiquitous connectivity, social exchange, property exchange, and cultural exchange. And each of them have created new business platforms. Right? This created Google, Bing, Baidu. This created mobile telephony companies, successful mobile telephony companies, because all of you are interested to be networked and all this to be there. And it gives an opportunity for you to go and do microblogging. Do you do microblogging?
No, I don't.
Which is the most successful microblogging company?
Is it again? There's an app for it.
Very simple, it's Twitter. Twitter. Microblogging, you can't write beyond certain number of characters, right? And most of the people mess up their life with Twitter, right? Like Donald Trump and others, right? Whatever comes to the mind, they go and type. If you have a button, I have a bigger button. That's what he said, no? As a response to the North Korean leader, right? He said, the North Korean leader said, I sleep and the button is next to me. This fellow is stupid. This fellow says, I sleep and next to me is a bigger button. So it is not bigger button that matters. It's the faster rocket that matters. No? We should talk about that part. So Twitter is a business model which came because of microblogging. Have you heard about LinkedIn?
Yeah.
All of you are there? Not there in LinkedIn? Ah, you should be there. Whom do you meet there? Who are the people in LinkedIn? Professionals. So do you understand what I mean by cultural group? These are the people, professionals who want to network. They are available on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a business model, is not it? So each of these things have brought new business models on internet, right? And each of them are answering the same question: information asymmetry. All of their businesses are dependent on information asymmetry, right? So the internet revolution which has come and the business models which have emerged are the unintended consequences. What is the unintended consequence of sex?
Babies.
Huh?
Babies.
Baby, pregnancy, right? Similarly, unintended consequences of internet revolution has ended up in creating business models, because internet was never meant for doing transactions. Internet was essentially for sending messages in NASA from one department to another department quickly. It was never meant for creating businesses. But today, you have so many successful people like Jack Ma and the Facebook founder and Twitter founder, they have created business models about the changes which has happened. Large countries, geographically large countries like India, China, Brazil, if you look at them, their internet successes are bigger. You have got sudden growth of large companies which have been able to do that. Why? People are geographically spread, right? People are in small towns and villages. So something should be there to bring them together. So if you look at India's e-commerce business, what do you think? Who buys e-commerce in India? Who uses more? People in the big cities, people in the small cities. 67% of business in India on internet happens from small towns. 67% of them. So if you have a logistics company in India, you are very successful, right? Because people will, internet companies will send the goods to the customers through the logistics company. But if you have a reverse logistics model, you are a failure. Reverse logistics means the product has been delivered, customer didn't like the product, so you have to bring the product back. And companies which are doing that part, they are not being able to become profitable in that case. That's a big challenge. So that is what is happening in India. India is more technology driven. It's natural instinct for Indians to land up and do transaction, do that part. So because they are technology driven, more number of apps come up. Because of that, you have new business model. You have new business models emerging there. And these newer business models are actually bridging the divide, because India has got a great divide. So in 1947, when India came into picture, India was actually like this. This is only 1.2% of the people, those who were rich there. You had around 12% of the people who were in the middle class. Large chunk of the people were at bottom. This is 1947 story. When you come to 2018-17 story, India looks like this. You still have 11% of the people who are rich. You still have 45% of the people who are still below $2. But you have got, this is called social obesity. You understand obesity? People grow at the middle, right? So this indicates that India has grown in the middle. So you have a large middle class coming up, a large middle class, successful middle class in India. So there has been a drastic change in the composition of market from this model to this model. So you have more people coming up and going to the middle class part. Since they have gone to the middle class part, it is natural they have higher disposable income. So it is natural they want products and services which are not basic. So if you look at this stage, okay, rice, lentils, all that was commodity was more in demand. But when you come here, you find people are looking for branded goods. People are looking for convenience. People are looking for fashion. People are looking for entertainment. People are looking for out of the house dining, right? So these kind of businesses have grown big in Indian context, both offline and in the online model. Is this the only trend in India? Answer is no. This is also happening in China. This is also happening in Brazil. This is also happening in South Africa and to a part in Russia, right? That is the reason why we call them as emerging markets. So why they are called emerging markets? Because there is an emerging middle class. The per capita income has gone higher. People have more disposable income. The middle class is getting consolidated. You will be surprised to find that the population size of Indian middle class is bigger than total population of US. So the consumption levels are so higher. Yet a lot of people, those who are at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you really can build successful business models for bottom of the pyramid market, then you can bring more fortune. It's estimated that the size of Indian rural market, bottom of the pyramid market, is 5 times the size of European market. 5 times in terms of volume, 5 times of European market. So what it lacks is a successful business model, right? A successful adaptation of existing business model to domestic market. Opportunities are there. What we need to work is the strategy part of it. Okay. I would like to thank all of you for the time that you have given to me and the discussions that we had on this case. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, you can go for the football match. He is in the football match.